people saying, what's an NFT? What is it? It's rubbish. It doesn't make sense. And I suppose as an artist, that pulls me more towards it because it is peculiar. From an ideas point of view, I just continue doing what I've always done. And that's just chasing the next idea, whether it's through music or fashion or virtual art, digital art.
Hi, and welcome to the FinancialFox, finance, investment, and crypto with a twist. I'm your host, Steffy B. I'm the founder of PR company Constitute Services, and every week I bring to you my favorite conversations with investment experts, market disruptors, mover and shakers, and the coolest project in crypto. Okay. Get ready because this is a very special episode as I got the opportunity to sit down with the legend, Boy George, British singer, songwriter, artist, and pop icon. He was interviewed by a friend of mine at Yahoo Finance, and that was because of his recent decision to create an NFT collection entitled Crypto Queens, which is available on OpenSea from the 1st of March and will mark the release of 7 new songs, and will also include the original artwork created by George.
I think it feels sort of secret worldish, which is quite fun. I feel like I'm encountering lots of interesting new people with strange avatars. And it feels like these moments in the art world come along every so often, and maybe NFT is part of that. Because it's widening the kind of idea of first of all, who can own a piece of art, and who can sell a piece of art, and who can create it as well. I mean, this is the thing about the internet. I think Patti Smith was saying, it's just made it so much more easy for people to express themselves. 100%. Yeah, we've got a little bit of a roadmap of things that we might try. And it's interesting because I've been talking for a long time about music and NFTs and how that would work, like even down to what about letting someone, own a particular version of a song? Or even go as far as going, actually, you own the song. I don't know how that works even, but the idea that, you share music with people in a very different way. There's the radio and all of that kind of process of what you have to do as a musician to get permission to be heard. And I love the idea that this is like, why do I need to go through that process when I can just reach people this way?
But Boy George is not just a music icon, he's also a fashionista. And that's why I was really interested to speak to him. And here is my conversation on how crypto is disrupting fashion. Then we talk about digital fashion, the metaverse, and why everybody is so excited about NFTs. Perhaps they are quite overvalued now, but they are definitely a revolution in digital ownership, community empowerment, and product experiences. So I loved this interview, and I hope that you are going to enjoy as well. But before we start, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, click the subscribe button and follow us on social media to stay up to date with our news and interviews. Okay, listen, it's such a great to speak with you, and talking about fashion, right? You are not just a music icon, but you are also a fashionista. So fashionista in a way that, you express your creativity also with fashion, which is great. And now crypto is bringing this revolution to the fashion industry because it's kind of shaking up different aspects of an industry that is quite old-fashioned, let's say. So what kind of new opportunities you are more excited about, opportunity that crypto is actually bringing to the fashion industry? I mean, for designers, but also for us as people using fashion
I think that, my sort of relationship with fashion is I love clothes. I don't take them too seriously. I realize, now the value of clothes. Some clothes I threw away, some things I just left, and then you go, oh no, I had no idea that this was so important, because I think, historically, I'm lucky to have grown up through so many kind of fashion cultural revolutions, from punk rock, glam rock, acid house, electro, what happened in New York, the beginning of hip hop. I was around for all of that stuff, and all of that stuff can be defined with clothing. You can see somebody dressed in a certain way. I'd even go as far as to say anybody that you could, if you look at history in music particularly, all the people that you really remember are people that had very definable style. Prince, Michael Jackson, Madonna, it's always Elvis Presley. It's always as much Roy Orbison's glasses. It's all about these little touches. So I feel like there's a great way to celebrate fashion kind of history and its importance through what you do visually. And I am seeing all these amazing kids right now doing the most beyond visual effects. I mean, I can't even know. There's some kid in Russia that I saw that's just like going out like dressed like a total alien. It's just amazing walking around Moscow, and it's almost like you're almost struggling. Is it real, or is it is it a sort of, is it a digital effect, or is it real? So I feel like some of the kids that are doing these, visual things are blowing us out of the water, so I don't really know where it can go, but I think it's very exciting.
And you mentioned about fashion as expression of ourselves, so communication of who we feel we are. That brings me to the metaverse. The metaverse is an universe where you can actually be who really you want to be. So you are your avatar. You are not restricted by the way your body looks like, or there is an element of freedom of expression that is exponential compared to the real world. Would you agree on that? And how do you see the metaverse modifying the way that we can express ourselves?
I think it's something, if looking a certain way, I'm someone that really understands the power of transformation. The minute I discovered makeup as a kid, when I discovered the humble kohl pencil, and I discovered what I could do to my own face, and to look back and go, oh, who's that? So yeah, I mean, this is what people are doing now with the avatar thing is absolutely an exaggerated version of that. But if that gives you freedom to express, who you want to be outside, sometimes people don't have families that are supportive. People aren't in social situations where they can be free. There are still places in the world where you just can't express yourself because it comes with a high price. So I feel like ultimately, obviously, I want everyone in the real world to feel free and to be able to be exactly what they want. But if they can do this, in the metaverse and get some kind of enjoyment and solace out of that, I think that is a beautiful thing, because exploring who you are, we are all infinite universes. We're much more than the narratives we put on ourselves. Even if you're someone like me who is, I think, quite eccentric, there's so much more to me that I'm sort of discovering, as I explore art and music and, nature, all of those things. I think it's all very, very kind of important.
Perhaps the metaverse gives us really the ability to just be who we want to be, and be as eccentric as we want, because there is nothing that we have to drag with us. It can be like a new world where it gives a lot of freedom. So I kind of agree on that. And I think it's a great place for designer as well, but also for people to kind of express their personality. Now, talking about NFT, utility of NFTs, because I think this is something that you are quite interested as well, is about the ability, right, to for example, contribute to charities, make donations in a way that is more direct. So you are actually doing it. Because I think lots of brands, lots of organizations say, well, we are donating X amount of money to a charity if you buy this product. But as a consumer, you don't know how much money have been donated. I mean, I got this beautiful card from Balenciaga for Christmas saying, okay, we are not giving you a present, but we are going to donate the money to the charity that gives, food for children. I thought that was great, but I didn't decide how much. I don't know how much they gave. I don't have any kind of input. So that's perhaps something that, NFTs can empower people to choose from this purchase I make. I want to donate X amount.
Absolutely. And I also think that, this is also a way of people owning kind of art in a new way, without the kind of snobbery of, well, you don't understand it and, you're separate from it. It's a really interesting, when you do something that is creatively enjoyable and also kind of spiritually rewarding as well, that is actually the best kind of combination of any kind of experience, So I think it's a great idea to, this community, I'm meeting all these amazing people that I've never met before. And I'm like, who are you? And it feels like I'm entering this interesting world. And, I'm going to learn stuff about it as well, I think, as I go along. I think it's going to teach me stuff about, my involvement in my own community, in the LGBTQI plus community. I've been through a lot, I understand a lot, and there's a lot I can tell people. And I think that's become more and more important in all of my work, whether it's music or art or in terms of charity and things like that. It's about making a connection.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think that brands, fashion brands, we have seen quite a few of them now entering the metaverse? I think Dolce Gabbana today they released a new NFT drop, which is these boxes. They've got digital, physical, and some new experience. So do you think they are kind of like understanding the real value of NFTs, or they are just jumping into the space because for them is a way to kind of like, I don't want to miss it. I want to, get more money in. This is, that's definitely the place to be. Or do what's your views?
I don't really have any set views about who's involved in things. I think that, whenever you do I think these kind of brands will have people that are connected to this world. They wouldn't just turn up. They'd have to have people that understood it, people that really knew how to make it work. And, that's why brands are so powerful, because they do permeate everything and they're so much part of the culture. So I think it kind of makes sense that people like Dolce & Gabbana or Galliano, whoever it may be, wants to also exist in this world, because you want to be seen. I feel like I'm not someone who watches from the sidelines, so I fully appreciate everybody going, hey, excuse me, I want to get to the front of the queue. I think your intentions will always ring true in the end. So I don't know if it's my place to judge anybody else's involvement, but it's I think in the end, what's exciting about this world and the metaverse and all of that is where it will go. What will it be? What will it turn into? Because, that's going to be what's interesting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that we are going to see some kind of improvement to the experience that we have in the central arm, because I'm not sure if you are visiting, the metaverse regularly, but it's a bit frustrating, to be
What's
honest.
frustrating about it? Tell me, because I'm doing my first gig on
Well,
Saturday. So.
okay, so basically you just go in. You can go as a guest, or you can connect your wallet, whatever. But just let's say you go as a guest. You create an avatar, so you choose the way you look like, and then you go in. And then, first of all, with a laptop, it's very weird to move. It's really weird, and even to talk to people, you have, it's not so great. And then when you go near people, it's like you are. It's kind of like an odd way to kind of meet people, and then you have to press X, some button, and they ask you something, and. I mean, it's really unnatural. Or you go in a bar, it's only you trying to drink
I'm doing my
something.
first Land experience on Saturday at 8 o'clock. So we'll speak again, maybe. So, oh my,
It just seems a bit, I think there is a lot of, improvement to be made, but obviously, that's time that more people are coming to the space, and more is going to be done. Now, we talk about brands going into the space, which is a good thing because they are experimenting. And what about energy consumption? Because in fashion, one of the biggest issues has been, okay, if you are releasing NFT, but they are on Ethereum, that's a proof of work, so it consumes lots of energy. So that really goes against the principle of sustainability that has been driving fashion brands for decades. And Gucci still releasing NFTs on Ethereum, so that's great. I just can't get that. Are they thinking about energy and maybe a way to find a solution there, or not? And also how that issue is important for
I
you.
think that it's something that's been discussed and I'm aware of it. So, as we sort of follow our roadmap, obviously we're going to be looking at, we don't want to be contributing to that problem, so, some of the reactions I've seen are quite extreme, you're destroying the universe and all of that. I mean, I think it's definitely something people are aware of, and, it's, I would say at this point, it's probably less harmful than flying somewhere with a load of art on an airplane. And I feel like there's also, whatever you do, there are these environmental consequences. But it's definitely, I won't say I have a proper answer for that question, but I'm definitely aware of it. And it's something that I think we're all going to have to take note of as this experience kind of grows and expands.
Yeah, well, there are obviously different chains they are working on solving this problem, like Polygon, Proof of Stake, like Cardano, and many others. So definitely, we are going to see kind of different solution for brands. Now, I've got other two questions. So one is, can you tell me your favorite fashion designers?
Well, my first most favorite fashion designer has got to be Vivienne Westwood, because I think that she is like, just one of those people that's been so much a part of my fashion experience from punk rock. I remember going into like her shop in the 70s when I was like 16, and there were t-shirts that were like £80. That was like so expensive at that point. When you went home to your mother and said, "There's a t-shirt that I have to have," and it's £80. It doesn't sound like anything now. It was like so expensive because nobody was doing it. And it was kind of a contradiction because of the whole punk thing. But for me, yeah, Vivian, and then of course, I know controversial, but John Galliano is also one of my favorite designers. I think the man is a genius, and I think he will make a massive return to fashion at some point. I feel like he's just, and he's like, to me, a student of Westwood. Obviously, Alexander McQueen. And then, like, I'm trying to think, there are a lot of young, interesting designers now, but there isn't anyone like that. It feels like that period of, there's sorts of people like Westwood and Galliano and McQueen and, different people. I need to mention more women. I'm doing a really bad job because I'm a man. I wear men's clothing. So I'm like,
Well, we can mention Miuccia Prada, even though she was not so, she was more kind of like traditional, but in a different kind of
yeah,
way.
it's this, there's, and also, there's different types of fashion. There's fashion that's about wearing money, which is, look at my handbag, it costs me more than a house, and you can't have one.
My
Yeah,
trainers.
so that's a different type of fashion. I suppose in a way what I'm interested in is style, personal style, and, I like the idea that that can exist within and without fashion. It isn't necessarily reliant on fashion. But, fashion is fabulous. Fashion is sensual. It gives you so much. It's like being at a fashion show, I'm sorry. It's like I just always really have the most amazing time, just witnessing all that drama, particularly couture shows. Things like Jean-Paul Gaultier, things like that. I've been to a few of his big shows, and it's like a Broadway show sometimes backstage, where people are sewing in corsets and sticking on buttons, and shoes are breaking, and there's just and especially with the couture show, it's all about that sort of just a few seconds. It's quite like nature sometimes, the way like some things just exist for a second and then they're gone. I love that kind of, there's a kind of anarchy to that.
Yeah, I really like that you made this distinction between fashion to show off, fashion for money, and then fashion that is actually creativity. That's very interesting.
Well, I think it is because, stylish people don't always have money. Stylish people aren't
Yeah.
always rich, just because, in fact, sometimes being rich makes you terribly unstylish because you just chuck on hundreds of things that, aren't necessarily, meant to go together. I feel like, I love kind of designer clothes, of course, they're amazing, especially if they're free.
Exactly. But I think another
Oh, okay, I
point,
couldn't possibly wear that. I feel like fashion, I've always liked the extreme side of fashion, the sort of couture, frivolous, kind of unnecessary, it's not needed, but it's kind of, it makes the world more, like beautiful architecture or, just design in general, beautiful things. Just everybody deserves to look at beautiful things all the time, I think.
it's true. What about talking about eccentricity? What about Balenciaga?
Amazing.
Because you didn't mention
I know,
it, and
because there's so many, isn't there? It's like I always joke about losing my Balenciaga when I'm out. I mean, amazing, there are often times, obviously some of women's fashions are so amazing, and you think, oh, I wish I could wear them, I mean, I always love to see, women, dressed up in these incredible clothes. I mean, it's just so exciting to see it. And, I think, yeah, there's just so much great stuff. I worked with Versace for about 10 years. I did their music for their shows for about 10 years. And that was just such an amazing experience. And that was so excessive and heady and glamorous. And it was just non-stop. It was only twice a year, but it was after that experience, it was just amazing. And of course, a designer like Versace really embraces pop culture. So when you go to the shows, there's Prince, there's Madonna, there's Missy Elliott, there's Puff Daddy, there's J-Lo. It's just non-stop kind of, glamour and excess. And I think that's one of the things about fashion that I love, that it's just so dramatic.
can I ask you, what do you think about this movement of influencers? So, and brands working with influencers just to get visibility. I mean, one of the things that I've been arguing is the fact, if I'm a brand, I want, as an ambassador, somebody that can carry my clothes, somebody that is like my muse or my model or, whatever. It's not just about getting somebody because it's got lots of followers.
But, popular people have always been popular.
So probably,
How can you say
probably,
that? It's like, there's always these people that, you know, I would say as a creative person, everything kind of influences me. Everything, all the time. Just even things I don't like influence me because they make me think in a certain way. And, I always look at these, some of the most influential people online don't have millions of followers. You look at someone and they say, oh, this person's a big influencer, but they only have a few. I think you can't measure your importance on how many people follow you. It's kind of exciting to have millions of followers, but I don't know what difference it makes to your spiritual existence. So I feel like, yeah, I feel like I understand why brands, want to work with influencers. And I used to love those. I mean, we've had that in clubs all our lives, where you walk into a club and you look fabulous and everybody's nudging and, oh, look, so and so's here. I mean, that's always existed. La Dolce Vita, there's always been, here comes Marilyn Monroe, here comes Sophia Loren, here comes whoever. That's part of the magic of kind of pop culture. And I think like social media is just this new way of, it's just amazing, endless. You just sit, you can really literally just sit and watch these things all day and just go, oh my God. But for me, certain things definitely stick out. There's certain people that you go, oh wow, that's amazing. Because, there's so much of it now. There was a time when we believed there was only 10 beautiful people in the world, right? And they were all in Vogue or Cosmopolitan or whatever, GQ. And now we understand there's millions of amazing, beautiful, sexy girls and boys and trans people and just every race. There's just so much amazing stuff out there. And it's kind of overwhelming sometimes, but it's, from a creative point of view, it's a marvelous thing to see.
I really hope that the metaverse can really bring community more as part of this ambassador for brands, for example, because you can be a community member to be an influencer, right? And I think that hopefully we are gonna see kind of like a change in the influencing model. Now,
Can I just say one
question.
thing? I think you influence the most through love. That is full stop, is really the only thing that matters. And I often say to people, social networking, it's in the title. Social, it's about being social. It's not about being closed down and saying I'm not going to be part of this. It's actually about, we've got this wonderful opportunity. I'm a Buddhist, so I practice Buddhism, and we are in Buddhism, we believe we're all connected anyway. We are all connected all the time. And in a way, as a Buddhist, I've always known this. And so, I look at the, social media in a very different way. It's because I already know that connection exists. But anything you can do to make that more of a thing, I think is good. And that's where, and that's a funny thing to say. Love is, it's always about love in the end.
Yeah, love, passion, and being able to communicate it. Yeah. So in a world where there is a lot of fake news, we mentioned social media that's coming all the time, and it does impact people's lives. How you maintain your authenticity?
Well, I know it's dangerous to have an opinion these days, so you have to be much more careful about what you just say. But I've been practicing this thing for the last year, actually, called the Three Principles, which is an amazing kind of, I would call it mind laundry. And it's about, the space that you have as a human being, the space you have in terms of how you react to things, what you might say to someone, how you feel even, particularly in your one-to-one relationships. And, it's been a fascinating thing because with the Three Principles, there's nothing to learn. It's what you already instinctively understand in your deepest, being. So it's really about the truth, and I think that for me, that has changed my relationship with everything I do and still does. on a daily basis, and I'm fascinated by what space you can create in a reaction, in an opinion, in a feeling, that you actually have a lot more control over that than you think. And that's where I think this could be interesting, in trying to you know tell people about that. It's to say, actually, you don't have to feel that way, and you don't have to feel or say that, or condemn people, or and this is, as I say, when I was growing up, I knew I was gay when I was like 6 years old, and weirdly, I never thought it was wrong. I always thought, this is what I'm meant to be. I always kind of knew it. It was such a weird thing to say, but that was the truth. I was worried that people wouldn't like me, but I never felt like it was wrong. And even now, if I had the chance to choose my sexuality, I would choose to be gay again, because it's given me so much, in terms of understanding the world and people's fears and people's ideas about each other. So for me, I'm trying to communicate that all the time through what I do musically and what I do artistically, and even the way I think about something. So, I probably feel like I'm more open now than I've ever been, in terms of kind of like, okay.
But it is inspiring. I mean, having people like you and many others. I mean, I've always been that way as well. Being able to openly be and say what you are, what you think, that makes you more happy and also inspire other people. I'm thinking about lots, like my family is in Italy. Italy, everybody is there judging you. Why you do that? Why you went there? Why you're not married? Are you a lesbian? And they mount your mind up where you feel overwhelmed, and that limits you in being able to express yourself and do good stuff, just because all this negativity coming and mounting over
Yeah,
you.
no, it's interesting. Culture is such a powerful thing, isn't it? I mean, I have a lot of Italian very good friends. And in fact, interesting, the person that I've been training with the Free Principles is Italian. A lady called Liliana, who is Italian. She practices this Free Principles. And, we talk about that a lot, in terms of, cultural reactions to things, because, I grew up in a sort of working class family where you didn't tell people your personal problems. You kind of kept it to yourself. You didn't tell people about your life. And unfortunately for my family, I was one of those people that used to tell everybody everything all the time. I would meet someone on the bus and tell them everything about my personal business. So I understand. I felt this kind of, sometimes I worry I say too much.
Yeah. And then people get shocked.
I think, but
That
also
was still.
obviously in the Italian, there's also the other side to Italy, which is just so intoxicating, beautiful, passionate. There's just, I'm a big It's Italy fan, so I've a long relationship with that country. I've been going there all my career, as with Culture Club, also as a DJ. I DJ'd a lot in Italy, and I've just spent so much time there. I feel like a real connection to it. As conosco un sacco di parole ma nulla di utili. I understand a lot of Italian.
Oh, questo impressionata.
Basta, because my Italian is very limited. But I sing a little bit in Italian as well, and it's amazing when you go to Italy and you sing in Italian, and they're like so shocked. It's like it's a beautiful language. There's so much to love about it as well, I think, as a country.
Yeah, at least they make you feeling home. They are very welcoming
Yeah.
Italians. And yeah, but there is this contrast, as you said, by a strong culture that is kind of like you feel judged all the time. And that's why I was never I never felt free in Italy. And when I came to London, I just said, right, now I'm just gonna restart my own life, and that's been awesome. But yeah, when you go back, you keep getting this kind of weird question. Anyway, it was such a
Yeah,
pleasure
lovely to
to
talk to you as
speak
well.
to you, George.
Yeah, really nice.